The airbag tasted like dust and regret. Paige Brennan blinked 3 times before she could focus on the lightning bolt crack now decorating her Honda Civic's windshield. The traffic light she swore had been yellow blinked red above her, indifferent. Beside her, a black BMW, and of course it was black, sported a dented bumper. She was going to get sued, definitely getting sued. Her phone buzzed on the passenger seat. 37 unread notifications. Paige groaned, pressing her forehead against the steering wheel. Monday, 8:47 a.m., and she'd already destroyed her professional life. Working as communications assistant to Seattle's most feared CEO meant being late was a capital sin. Crashing your car on the way to work? That was instant termination. She reached for the phone with trembling hands, bracing for the flood of furious HR emails. But the first notification made her stop breathing. Relationship status update. Congratulations! You are now married to Wyatt Kincaid. Effective date, today, 3:47 a.m. Paige stared at the screen, blinked, stared again. Wyatt Kincaid, her boss. The man who in 8 months of employment had directed exactly 17 words directly at her, 14 of which were, "This is wrong, redo it." The 34-year-old CEO who ruled Kincaid Technologies with an iron fist, and the expression of someone who'd just bitten into a sour lemon. The billionaire who, according to office rumors, once made an investor cry just by staring at him in silence for 45 seconds. That Wyatt Kincaid, she laughed, a high-pitched, hysterical sound that startled the BMW driver. A man in his 60s now tapping on her window with genuine concern. "Miss, are you okay? Should I call an ambulance?" Paige rolled down the window, still laughing. "I just married my boss." The man stepped back. "Did you hit your head?" "Good question." Paige touched her forehead. No blood, no bump, just the growing certainty that this was some bizarre dream induced by cranial trauma. She pinched her own arm. It hurt. Great. She was awake and losing her mind. More notifications flooded the screen. Photos. Hundreds of them. Paige in a white dress that definitely wasn't hers. Satin, minimalist, ridiculously expensive. Wyatt Kincaid beside her in a black tuxedo, wearing his usual expression. Zero emotion, like he was in a particularly boring meeting about quarterly projections. There was even a photo of them cutting a 5-tier cake. What the actual heck? "Excuse me." A harder knock on the window. The BMW gentleman now held a phone. "I'm calling 911. "No!" Paige nearly dropped her cell. "No, I just need to get to work. Now." She stumbled out of the car, hastily jotted down the man's insurance information. He watched her like she might explode at any moment, and returned to the Civic. The car started on the 3rd try. Good sign. Terrible noise coming from the engine. She'd deal with that later. The Kincaid Technologies parking lot was surprisingly empty for a Monday. Paige parked in the farthest spot, her usual spot because assistants didn't deserve luxuries like proximity to the entrance, and checked her phone once more. 53 notifications now, all wedding-related. Congratulations from people she didn't know. Comments on photos she didn't remember taking. A calendar alert. Honeymoon in Santorini. Saturday, 2 p.m. Flight confirmed. Honeymoon. With Wyatt Kincaid, the man who once reprimanded her for using a smiley emoji in an internal email. Paige locked the car and crossed the parking lot on jelly legs. The Kincaid Technologies lobby was all glass and steel, minimalist to the point of hostility. The receptionist, Harper, the only person in the building who occasionally smiled, widened her eyes when Paige entered. "What?" Harper jumped from her chair. "You're here! I work here, but you just got married." Harper rushed over, holding up her phone as evidence. "Everyone's talking about it. Mr. Kincaid got married. To you. I mean, no offense, but you." Paige felt nauseous. "Harper, I didn't marry anyone. I crashed my car this morning and woke up to a bunch of crazy notifications but the photos..." Harper turned her phone around. There was Paige again, beaming beside Wyatt Kincaid in an absurdly flower-filled garden. He was holding her hand. She wore a diamond ring the size of a tic-tac. Paige looked at her own left hand. Empty. Of course it was empty. Because she hadn't married. The elevator opened. Wyatt Kincaid emerged like a storm in human form. 6'2", shoulders filling his custom charcoal suit, angular jaw that could probably cut glass. steel gray eyes now fixed directly on Paige with an intensity that made her forget how to breathe. He stopped 3 steps from her, studied her face, the notifications, her auburn hair, which was definitely a post-airbag mess. Then, for the first time in 8 months, Wyatt Kincaid smiled. It wasn't a polite smile. It was a slow, predatory smile that started at the corner of his mouth and spread to his eyes. Late again, wife? Paige's knees buckled. The world tilted sideways. Harper shrieked something. The marble floor rushed up to meet her face, and then everything went black. When she opened her eyes, she was staring at the ceiling, specifically at the modern geometric light fixture that cost more than her annual salary. Her head throbbed. Something soft cushioned her skull. A jacket, she realized. Charcoal gray, expensive fabric, smelling like cedar and something darker. Don't move. The voice came from above her. Low, controlled, with that edge of command that made interns cry. Paige turned her head anyway. Wyatt Kincaid crouched beside her, his expression unreadable. Behind him, Harper clutched her phone like a lifeline, and a small crowd of early morning employees gawked from a safe distance. "I'm calling 911, Harper announced. "Don't." Wyatt didn't look away from Paige. "She's fine." "She fainted," Harper's voice pitched higher. "On marble. She could have a concussion." "I don't have a concussion," Paige croaked. Her throat felt like sandpaper. I have notifications about a wedding. That didn't happen." Wyatt's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Conference room, now." He stood in one fluid motion, extending a hand to her. "Unless you'd prefer to have this conversation in front of an audience." Paige looked at his hand. Strong fingers, perfectly manicured nails, a watch that probably cost more than her car. No wedding ring. She took his hand. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as Wyatt pulled her to her feet and guided her toward the elevator with a hand on her lower back. The touch burned through her cotton blouse. Harper mouthed something that looked like, "Text me everything," before the elevator doors slid shut. Silence. Just the quiet hum of machinery and Paige's thundering heartbeat. "So," Paige said, because apparently surviving a car crash and fainting in front of her terrifying boss hadn't used up her daily quota of bad decisions. "Did we get married, or is this some elaborate prank?" Wyatt stared straight ahead at the polished steel doors. "We're married." The elevator lurched. Or maybe that was just Paige's stomach. "I'm sorry, what?" "Legally. Officially. As of 3:47 a.m. this morning." His voice remained perfectly level, like he was discussing quarterly earnings. "There are photos, witnesses, and a marriage certificate filed with King County. But I don't remember. Neither do I." The elevator chimed. 23rd floor, executive level, where assistants only ventured when summoned, and even then with extreme caution. Wyatt stepped out first, still not looking at her. "My office. We need to talk." Paige followed him down the corridor on autopilot. Her mind spun in useless circles. Married. To Wyatt Kincaid. The man who'd never smiled at her until 15 minutes ago. The man who probably didn't know her middle name or her birthday or literally anything about her, except that she made decent coffee and occasionally sent emails with unauthorized punctuation. His office was exactly what she'd expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay, minimalist furniture in shades of gray and black, a desk the size of her apartment's kitchen. Everything pristine, controlled, cold. Wyatt closed the door behind them, locked it. Paige's pulse jumped. "Relax," he said, finally turning to face her fully. "I'm not going to attack you. I just don't want interruptions." He crossed to his desk, tapped something on his computer, and turned the monitor toward her. Photos, the same ones from her phone, but larger, more detailed. Paige in that gorgeous dress, looking happier than she'd ever seen herself look. Wyatt beside her, touching her waist, her hand, her face, and in every single photo he was looking at her like she was the only person in the world. "These are real," Wyatt said quietly. "Not photoshopped. I had them analyzed. But how? I don't know." He finally showed a crack in that iron control, running a hand through his dark hair, messing it up. "The last thing I remember is going to bed at midnight, alone, in my penthouse. The next thing I knew, I was waking up to 200 notifications about a wedding I apparently attended." "Same," Paige whispered. "Except I was in my apartment, and then I crashed my car, and now I'm here, and everyone thinks we're married, and..." Her voice broke. "I can't afford to get fired. I have student loans and credit card debt and my mom's medical bills. You're not getting fired. She looked up at him. But Paige. Her name and his voice did something strange to her chest. Whatever happened last night, we're in this together. I don't know if this is corporate espionage, blackmail, or just the universe's sick sense of humor, but I'm not letting you take the fall for it. Why not? The question came out more bitter than she intended. You don't even know me. Something shifted in his expression. I know you take your coffee black with 2 sugars. I know you proofread every email 3 times before sending. I know you work late every Thursday because that's when your mom has chemotherapy and you need the distraction. His gray eyes held hers. I know more than you think. Paige's mouth went dry. Before she could respond, Wyatt's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression hardened. We have a problem. Another one? He turned the phone toward her. A news headline blazed across the screen. Tech billionaire Wyatt Kincaid secretly marries employee. Scandal or romance? Below it, a photo. The 2 of them kissing under an arch of white roses, her hands in his hair, his arms wrapped around her waist, and in the background, barely visible, a camera flash. Someone had been watching. Someone had planned this. Paige stared at the headline until the words blurred together. Tech billionaire. Secret marriage. Employee. Each word felt like a punch to the gut. This is bad, she whispered. That's an understatement. Wyatt set his phone down with deliberate care, the kind of control that suggested he wanted to throw it through the window instead. My PR team has been fielding calls for the past hour. Business partners, board members, reporters. Can't you just tell them it's not real? With what evidence? He gestured at the computer screen. We have photos, a marriage certificate, witness statements. According to the state of Washington, we are legally married. Paige sank into one of his minimalist chairs. The leather was butter soft and probably cost more than her monthly rent. This is insane. People don't just get married without knowing it. Apparently, we do. Wyatt crossed to the window, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense beneath his suit jacket. The question is why. You think someone did this to us on purpose? You saw the photo. Someone was taking pictures. This wasn't spontaneous. He turned back to face her. Someone wanted documentation, evidence. A chill ran down Paige's spine. But who would? Her phone exploded with notifications. Paige fumbled it out of her pocket, nearly dropping it twice. Text messages, dozens of them. Her roommate Riley, her college friends, her cousin in Portland, even her hairdresser. Riley, girl, what the actual heck? Riley, you married your boss? Riley, the hot, scary one? Riley, are you okay? Do I need to call someone? It's everywhere, Paige breathed. Everyone knows. Wyatt's jaw tightened. My mother just called. 3 times. I haven't answered. What are we supposed to tell people? The truth. He said it like it was simple, like they weren't in the middle of a nightmare that defied all logic. We don't remember getting married. We're investigating how it happened. That makes us sound crazy. We might be. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Last night I went to bed single. This morning I woke up married to my assistant. If that's not crazy, I don't know what is. Paige laughed. It came out slightly hysterical. Your assistant, right? The one you've spoken 17 words to in 8 months. 18 now. She looked up at him. What? You're not fired. He moved away from the window, closer to her chair. That makes 18. Something warm and dangerous unfurled in her chest. Paige shoved it down ruthlessly. This was not the time to develop feelings for her accidental husband, who also happened to be her terrifying boss. This was the time to panic, hyperventilate, and possibly fake her own death. Okay, she said, trying for calm and landing somewhere near desperate. What do we do? Annulment? Divorce? Do we call a lawyer? Already done. Wyatt checked his watch. Marcus Chen from our legal department will be here in 10 minutes. He's discreet. Does discreet mean he won't leak this to every gossip site in Seattle? He signed an NDA that would bankrupt his grandchildren. Comforting. The intercom on Wyatt's desk buzzed. Mr. Kincaid, your 9 o'clock is here. Wyatt pressed the button. Send them away, Harper. But it's the quarterly review with, cancel it. Cancel everything for today. A pause. Then, in a lower voice, is Paige okay? She looked really pale when you... She's fine, hold all my calls. He released the button before Harper could respond. Paige stood up, needing to move, to do something other than sit there feeling like a character in a bad telenovela. She walked to the window, looking out over Elliott Bay. Gray water, gray sky, ferries cutting white lines through the morning mist. Seattle in all its moody glory. "I had a plan, you know," she said quietly. "Work hard. Get promoted to senior communications manager. Build a career, maybe meet someone normal at a coffee shop or a bookstore. Get married after dating for 2 years. Not this." "I had a plan too." Wyatt's voice came from directly behind her, close enough that she could feel his presence like heat. "Build the company, take it public, prove to everyone who said I was too young, too reckless that I could succeed." A pause. Romance wasn't part of the equation. Paige turned around. Big mistake. He was right there, close enough to touch, his steel gray eyes searching her face like he was trying to solve a particularly complex problem. "Why do you work late on Thursdays?" she asked suddenly. He blinked. "What? You said you knew about my mom's chemo, but you work late every Thursday too. I've seen your office light on when I leave." Something shifted in his expression. Vulnerability. Quickly masked. "My sister had cancer. 5 years ago. Stage 3. She beat it, but..." He looked away. "Thursdays were her treatment days. I couldn't be there with her. She was in Boston. I was here. So I worked. It was easier than thinking about it." Paige's heart cracked a little. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. She's fine now. Married, 2 kids, lives in Vermont." His gaze returned to her face. "I noticed you working late. I figured maybe you needed the same thing I did back then. Distraction. You noticed me?" "Paige." Her name again, low and rough. "I notice everything about you." The air between them felt charged, electric. Paige's pulse hammered in her throat. This was dangerous territory. He was her boss, her accidental husband, a man who could destroy her career with a word, and he was looking at her like she was the only person in the world. The door opened. They both stepped back hastily as a man in his 40s entered, Asian American, expensive suit, carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than Paige's car. "Marcus," Wyatt said, his professional mask sliding back into place. "Thanks for coming on short notice." Marcus Chen looked between them with the kind of calm that suggested he'd seen much stranger things in his legal career. "Mr. Kincaid. Mrs. Kincaid." He nodded at Paige, his expression carefully neutral. "Shall we sit?" "Mrs. Kincaid." The words hit Paige like a slap. That was her now. Legally. Officially. They arranged themselves around Wyatt's conference table. Sleek black marble, 6 chairs. Everything perfect and cold. Marcus opened his briefcase and pulled out a manila folder thick with documents. "I've reviewed the marriage certificate," he began. "It's legitimate. Filed with King County at 4:15 a.m. this morning. Officiant was a justice of the peace named Robert Finnegan. 2 witnesses signed, a James Morrison and a Linda Chen." "Are they real people?" Paige asked. "They exist. James Morrison is a photographer based in Seattle. Linda Chen is a wedding planner. Both have legitimate businesses, proper licenses." Marcus slid 2 photos across the table. "I pulled their professional headshots from their websites." Paige leaned forward. The photographer was maybe 35, friendly smile, expensive camera in the photo. The wedding planner looked professional, polished, mid-40s. "Do we know if they were hired?" Wyatt asked. "Or coerced? My investigator is tracking them down now." Marcus made a note on his legal pad. "But here's where it gets interesting. The venue was the Cascade Garden Estate, private property, normally rented for high-end events. The booking was made 3 weeks ago." Paige's stomach dropped. 3 weeks? "Someone planned this," Wyatt said flatly. "This wasn't spontaneous." "Correct." Marcus pulled out another document. "The booking was made under the name PMK Events. I'm tracing the payment trail, but it was routed through several shell companies. Whoever set this up knew what they were doing." "What about the photos?" Paige asked. "The ones online. Where did they come from?" "Posted to social media from a burner account created yesterday. The account was deleted within an hour, but not before major news outlets picked up the images." Marcus looked at her sympathetically. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Kincaid. This is clearly targeted." "Stop calling me that." The words came out sharper than she intended. We're not. "Legally, you are," Marcus said gently. "And that's the issue. Annulment requires proof of fraud, duress, or incapacity. Divorce takes 6 months minimum in Washington state. Either way, you're married until the paperwork clears. Wyatt stood abruptly, walking to the window. His shoulders were rigid, hands clenched at his sides. Someone orchestrated this, booked a venue, hired vendors, got us there somehow, documented everything, then leaked it to the press. He turned back to face them. Why? That's what we need to figure out, Marcus said. Who benefits from this marriage? Silence fell over the room. Paige's mind raced through possibilities, each more ridiculous than the last. Corporate sabotage, a scorned ex, random chaos. The board meeting, Wyatt said suddenly. Next month, the vote on the merger with Hartley Industries. Marcus's expression sharpened. You think this is related? Richard Hartley has been pushing for majority control. I've been blocking it. The board is split. Wyatt's eyes narrowed. But if I'm embroiled in a scandal involving an inappropriate relationship with an employee, you lose credibility, Paige finished. The board might vote against you. And Hartley gets what he wants. Wyatt's jaw clenched. Control of my company, Marcus wrote rapidly. That's a solid motive, but we need proof. Hard evidence linking Hartley to this. Get it. Wyatt's voice went cold, dangerous. Whatever it takes. I want to know who did this and why. Marcus stood, gathering his documents. I'll have a preliminary report by tomorrow morning. In the meantime, he looked between them. You two need to get your story straight. The press is already calling this a fairy tale romance. Secret wedding, billionaire CEO, the assistant he supposedly fell for. That's ridiculous, Paige said. That's what sells papers. Marcus tucked his briefcase under his arm. My advice, lean into it. Play the happy couple until we can sort this out quietly. Fighting it will only make things worse. He left, closing the door with a quiet click. Paige looked at Wyatt. Wyatt looked at Paige. Play the happy couple, she repeated. He wants us to pretend this is real. It is real. Wyatt moved back to the table, bracing his hands on the marble surface. We're married, Paige. Whether we remember it or not, the question is what we do about it. We get divorced, obviously. In 6 months, after maximum damage to both our reputations. He straightened, rolling his shoulders like he was preparing for battle. Or we play along. Convince everyone this was real, wanted, and when we quietly divorce later, it's just another celebrity marriage that didn't work out. Paige's head spun. You want to fake a relationship? I want to control the narrative. He stepped closer. Someone tried to destroy me, Paige. They used you to do it. That makes this your fight too. I'm your assistant. You're my wife. The word hung between them, heavy with implications neither of them was ready to face. Paige's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again. She looked down at the screen. Riley. The news says you've been secretly dating for months, Riley. Is that true? Riley. Because you literally never mentioned him once. Mom. Sweetheart. I saw the news. Call me. Are you safe? Unknown number. Congratulations on your marriage. Seattle Times would love an exclusive interview. More messages flooded in. Paige silenced her phone and looked up at Wyatt. If we do this, she said slowly. If we pretend this is real. What does that actually mean? Wyatt's expression was unreadable. It means we convince everyone we're in love. Starting now. How? He pulled out his phone, swiped a few times, then held it up. A photo. The two of them at the wedding. His arms around her waist, her hands on his chest, both of them laughing at something off camera. They looked happy, natural, like they belonged together. We make them believe this, Wyatt said quietly. Whatever it takes. Paige stared at the photo, at the version of herself who looked deliriously happy married to Wyatt Kincaid, a version who apparently existed somewhere in her missing memories. Okay, she heard herself say. I'll do it. Wyatt's eyes flashed with something that might have been relief, or triumph, or something far more dangerous. Then we start now. He offered his hand. Ready to fall in love with me, wife? Paige took his hand. His fingers were warm, strong, sending electricity up her arm. Let's find out, she said, and somewhere in the back of her mind, a small voice whispered, be careful what you pretend to feel. It might become real. The plan, Wyatt explained as they rode the elevator down to the lobby, was simple. They would leave the building together, hold hands, smile at the cameras that were undoubtedly already gathering outside, act like two people who were madly in love and definitely not experiencing a shared psychotic break. Easy, Paige muttered, watching the floor numbers descend. 20, 19, 18. Just pretend to be in love with my boss who I've barely spoken to, while cameras document my every move. No pressure. You talk to yourself when you're nervous. Wyatt stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. You did it during the shareholder presentation last month. Counted backwards from 10 under your breath before you started. Paige whipped her head around to stare at him. You noticed that? I told you, I notice everything. His gray eyes held hers. For example, you bite your bottom lip when you're concentrating. You twist your hair around your finger when you're on the phone with your mother. And you always organize the pens on your desk by color before you leave for the day. Heat crept up Paige's neck. That's kind of creepy, actually. Or attentive. The elevator chimed, ground floor. Wyatt's expression shifted, becoming softer, warmer. He reached for her hand, lacing their fingers together. Ready? His hand was warm, strong, and sent a jolt of electricity through her entire nervous system. Paige looked down at their joined hands, then back up at his face. This is for show, right? She whispered. Something flickered in his eyes. Right. The elevator doors opened. Chaos. The lobby had transformed into a media circus. Reporters, cameras, lights. At least 20 people crowded around the glass doors. Harper stood behind the reception desk looking overwhelmed, her phone pressed to her ear. Security guards formed a loose barrier, but it clearly wasn't enough. Back entrance? Paige suggested hopefully. Front door. Wyatt squeezed her hand. We're newlyweds, remember? We have nothing to hide, except the fact that we don't remember getting married. Minor detail. He flashed her a smile that would have made her knees weak if she weren't already terrified. Stay close. Don't answer questions. Just smile and look happy. I'm going to throw up. Please don't, it'll ruin the narrative. Before Paige could respond, Wyatt was leading her forward. The security guards parted, creating a path. Harper gave them a thumbs up that looked more panicked than encouraging. And then they were pushing through the glass doors into the Seattle morning. Cameras exploded. Questions came from every direction, overlapping into incomprehensible noise. Mr. Kincaid, how long have you been dating? Is it true you kept the relationship secret? Paige, did you know he was going to propose? When did you fall in love? Wyatt's arm slid around her waist, pulling her against his side. The touch was possessive, protective, and sent heat pooling in places that were absolutely inappropriate given the circumstances. Paige forced herself to smile, trying to look like a woman in love, and not a woman having an existential crisis. We're very happy, Wyatt said, his voice carrying over the noise. And we'd appreciate some privacy as we start this new chapter together. Just one photo, someone called. Can we get a photo of the happy couple? Wyatt looked down at Paige. His eyes asked a silent question. She gave a tiny nod. He lowered his head, and for one heart-stopping moment, Paige thought he was going to kiss her, right there, in front of everyone. But instead his lips brushed her temple, soft and gentle, while cameras clicked furiously around them. You're doing great, he murmured against her skin. Just a little longer. His breath was warm. He smelled like expensive cologne and coffee. Paige's brain short-circuited. A black town car pulled up to the curb, their escape. Wyatt guided her toward it, his hand never leaving her waist. More questions, more cameras, more people trying to get closer. Then they were inside the car, doors closing, tinted windows shutting out the chaos. The driver pulled away smoothly. Silence. Paige realized she was shaking. She pressed her hands to her face, trying to slow her breathing. That was insane. That was Tuesday. Wyatt loosened his tie, looking frustratingly calm. You get used to it. I don't want to get used to it. She dropped her hands, looking at him. That's your world, not mine. It's our world now. He said it matter-of-factly, like they were discussing weather. At least for the next 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of pretending to be in love with Wyatt Kincaid. Half a year of cameras and questions, and playing a role she'd never auditioned for. Where are we going? Paige asked, noticing they weren't heading toward the parking garage where her poor damaged Civic waited. My place. At her sharp look, Wyatt raised an eyebrow. Relax. You need clothes, personal items. If we're selling this marriage, you need to look like you actually live with me. I don't live with you. The press doesn't know that. He pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. I'm having your things moved from your apartment today. Your what? Paige's voice went up an octave. You can't just move my stuff. I can if we're married, which we are. He kept typing. Don't worry, professional movers. Everything will be handled carefully. That's not the point. You can't just make decisions about my life without asking me. Wyatt looked up from his phone, expression genuinely confused. I'm trying to help. By being controlling and high-handed. By being efficient. He pocketed his phone. Paige, reporters are probably already staking out your apartment building. Your roommate is probably being harassed. This solves both problems. She hated that he was right. She hated it so much. Fine, Paige bit out. But I'm calling Riley myself to warn her. Already done. I had my assistant contact her an hour ago. You have an assistant? Had an assistant. You're my assistant. Was your assistant. Now I'm your fake wife. Real wife. Fake relationship. Wyatt's lips curved into something that might have been amusement. Let's keep the terminology accurate. The town car wound through downtown Seattle, heading toward the waterfront where the truly wealthy lived. Paige pulled out her phone, scrolling through the hundreds of notifications. Photos from outside the building were already online. Headlines screamed about their romantic exit and protective husband. One photo made her stop scrolling. Wyatt looking down at her, his expression soft in a way she'd never seen before. Her looking up at him with something that looked dangerously close to genuine affection. We look good together, Wyatt said quietly. He was looking at her phone screen over her shoulder. It's fake, Paige reminded herself. Is it? He leaned back, studying her with those unnerving gray eyes. You're a terrible actress, Paige. Yet in those photos you look completely genuine. Makes me wonder what you were really feeling. Panic, terror, the usual. Liar. But he smiled when he said it. The car pulled up to a high-rise that screamed money. All glass and steel, with a doorman who looked like he could bench press a truck. The penthouse, Wyatt explained, took up the entire top floor. Of course it did. The elevator ride was long, awkward. Paige stared at her reflection in the mirrored walls, barely recognizing herself. Same auburn hair, same green eyes, same face, but different somehow, like she'd stepped into an alternate reality where she was the kind of woman who married billionaire CEOs. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Paige stepped out and her jaw dropped. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Elliott Bay and the Seattle skyline. The space was massive, open concept, modern furniture in shades of gray and white, abstract art on the walls. Everything was perfect, pristine, like a magazine spread come to life. You live here? Paige breathed. Alone? Usually. Wyatt moved past her, shrugging off his suit jacket. Master bedroom is through there. Guest room's down the hall. Kitchen is fully stocked. Make yourself at home. Make herself at home. In a penthouse that probably cost more than she'd earn in her lifetime. Sure, no problem. Where will I sleep? Paige asked, then immediately regretted the question when Wyatt's expression shifted into something dangerous. We're married, he said slowly. Newly married. Supposedly madly in love. Where do you think married couples sleep? Paige's heart kicked into overdrive. You can't seriously expect. The master bedroom has a couch. He pointed toward the open doorway. California king bed. Plenty of space. We can share the room without actually sharing the bed. That's still what married couples do, Wyatt finished. What reporters expect if they somehow get photos of the interior. What makes this believable? He moved closer, and Paige found herself backing up until she hit the window. Unless you have a better idea? She didn't. That was the problem. Every solution led back to the same impossible situation, pretending to be married to a man she barely knew. A man who was currently standing way too close, looking at her like she was a puzzle he was determined to solve. 6 months, Paige said, hating how breathless she sounded. That's all. 6 months, Wyatt agreed. But his eyes said something different, something that made her stomach flip. Her phone rang, shattering the moment. Paige fumbled it out of her pocket. Riley's name flashed on the screen. I should take this, she said. Wyatt stepped back, giving her space. I'll be in the office if you need me. He gestured toward a hallway. Second door on the right. He disappeared, leaving Paige alone in his massive penthouse. She answered the call. Riley? What the actual heck is happening? Riley's voice was equal parts concern and excitement. Some fancy assistant called me saying you're moving out, and I saw the news, and apparently you're married to your boss. It's complicated. Complicated. Paige, yesterday you were complaining about his excessive use of red ink on your reports. Today you're married to him. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds impossible. What happened? Are you okay? Do you need help? Should I call someone? The concern in Riley's voice made Paige's eyes sting. I'm okay, I promise. It's just, everything happened so fast. Fast. You've known him for 8 months. You never mentioned dating him. You never mentioned anything. Because there was nothing to mention. Because this was fake. Because Paige was lying to her best friend and hating every second of it. We kept it quiet, Paige heard herself say. The lies came easier than they should have. Office policy. We didn't want anyone to know. And the wedding? That was sudden too? Very sudden. Kind of a spontaneous thing. At least that part was honest. Even if Riley interpreted it completely wrong. Riley was quiet for a moment. Then, softer. Are you happy? The question hit harder than it should have. Was she happy? She was terrified, confused, pretending to be someone she wasn't. But standing in Wyatt's penthouse, remembering the way he'd looked at her, the way his hand had felt in hers. I think so, Paige said quietly, and wasn't entirely sure it was a lie. They talked for another 10 minutes. Riley extracting promises for details, girls' night, meeting Wyatt properly. Paige agreed to all of it, adding to the web of lies she was building. When she finally hung up, Paige walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Seattle spread out before her, gray and beautiful and surreal. 48 hours ago, she was an assistant with student loans and a beat-up Honda. Now she was married to a billionaire, living in a penthouse, pretending to be in love. Your friend okay? Wyatt's voice came from behind her. Paige turned. He'd changed, jeans and a fitted black t-shirt that did unfair things to his shoulders. His hair was slightly messed up like he'd run his hands through it. He looked younger, more human, less like the terrifying CEO and more like an actual person. She's worried, Paige admitted, and I'm lying to her. I hate lying. Sometimes we lie to protect people. Wyatt joined her at the window, standing close enough that she could feel his body heat. She doesn't need to know the truth. Not yet. When this is over, I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do. When this is over, Wyatt said quietly, you'll have your life back, your apartment, your freedom, all of it. Something twisted in Paige's chest. That should have made her happy. It should have been exactly what she wanted to hear. So why did it feel like disappointment? Your things will be here in an hour, Wyatt continued. I had my assistant clear out the closet in the master bedroom. Half is yours now. You really think of everything, don't you? I have to. It's how I survive. He looked at her, really looked at her, and the intensity made her breath catch. But you're not part of my survival strategy, Paige. You're something else. What? She barely whispered it. Wyatt reached out, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek. I'm still figuring that out. The moment stretched between them, heavy with possibility. Paige could feel her heartbeat in her throat, could see the way Wyatt's eyes dropped to her lips, could sense the way the air seemed to thicken. His phone rang. They both jumped back like teenagers caught making out. Wyatt pulled out his phone, his expression hardening as he read the screen. Marcus, he said tersely, tell me you have good news. Paige couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched Wyatt's face change. Tension, anger, something darker. I see, Wyatt said finally. Send me everything you have. I want to review it personally. He hung up, his jaw tight. What happened? Paige asked. Marcus found something. Wyatt turned to face her fully. The photographer who took our wedding photos? James Morrison? He received $50,000 3 weeks ago, wired from an offshore account. Can you trace it? Already did. Wyatt's eyes went cold. The account is registered to a subsidiary of Hartley Industries. The name hit like a physical blow. Your business rival. My enemy, Wyatt corrected. Richard Hartley didn't just orchestrate our wedding, Paige. He's trying to destroy everything I've built. What are we going to do? Wyatt's smile was sharp, dangerous, nothing like the soft expression from moments ago. We're going to beat him at his own game, and we're going to do it together. He offered his hand. Paige looked at it, strong, capable, belonging to a man who was quickly becoming more than just her accidental husband. She took it. Together, she echoed. And somewhere in the back of her mind, that small voice whispered again, be careful. You're already starting to fall. The movers arrived exactly 1 hour later, as promised. Paige watched from Wyatt's, there a penthouse, as three men in uniform efficiently transported her entire life into boxes. Her mismatched furniture looked absurd next to Wyatt's designer pieces. Her Target throw pillows clashed violently with his minimalist aesthetic. Her collection of romance novels seemed to multiply in embarrassment when placed on his sleek built-in shelves. "This is humiliating," Paige muttered, watching a mover carry in her questionable thrift store lamp shaped like a flamingo. "That's amazing." Wyatt appeared beside her, coffee in hand, staring at the flamingo with what might have been genuine delight. "Where did you find that?" "Goodwill, 3 years ago. It was ironic." "It's perfect." He walked over, examining it like it was fine art. "We're keeping this front and center." "Absolutely not. My penthouse, my rules." But he smiled when he said it, and Paige felt that dangerous warmth in her chest again. Her phone buzzed. Text from Harper. "Harper, OMG, everyone at the office is losing it." Harper, "Jensen from accounting brought champagne." Harper, "They're calling you Cinderella Harper. How does it feel to live the dream?" Paige stared at the message. Dream. Right. If dreams included memory loss, corporate conspiracy, and fake marriages to emotionally unavailable billionaires. Paige, "It's surreal. Still processing." Harper, "When you come back, we're getting details, all the details." Harper, "Also, Mr. Kincaid's ex called the office." Harper, she sounded pissed. Paige's stomach dropped. "Wyatt?" He was directing movers toward the guest bedroom, pointing at boxes with military precision. "Yes?" "Your ex-girlfriend called the office." His expression didn't change. "Which one? How many do you have?" "Define ex-girlfriend." At her look, he sighed. "Probably Natasha. Natasha Volkov. We dated last year. She's a corporate attorney for Hartley Industries." The world tilted sideways. "Wait, Hartley Industries? The same Hartley who—" "The same." Wyatt took a long sip of coffee. "We broke up 6 months ago. It wasn't serious." "Wasn't serious enough for you to mention that your ex-girlfriend works for the man trying to destroy you?" It didn't seem relevant. "Didn't seem—" Paige pressed her hands to her temples. "How is that not relevant? She could be involved. She could have planned this whole thing. Natasha isn't subtle enough for corporate espionage." Wyatt set his coffee down, finally giving her his full attention. "She's brilliant in court, ruthless in negotiations, but this," he gestured around them, "this requires patience. Planning. Natasha acts on impulse. You dated her. Briefly." "How briefly?" 3 months, maybe 4. His eyes narrowed. "Why does this matter?" "Because jealousy was currently eating Paige alive, which was ridiculous considering this entire marriage was fake. She barely knew this man. She had no claim on him, no right to feel possessive about his romantic history." "It doesn't," Paige lied. "I just think we should investigate everyone connected to Hartley, including her. Marcus is already looking into it." Wyatt moved closer, studying her face with that unnerving intensity. "Are you jealous?" "No. You're lying again. You do this thing with your jaw when you lie, tightens just slightly." His finger traced along her jawline, feather light. "See? Right there." Paige's breath caught. They were standing too close again. It kept happening, like gravity pulled them together whenever they occupied the same space. "Mr. Kincaid?" One of the movers appeared, holding a box marked private. "Do not open." "Where should we put this?" Paige lunged forward. "I'll take that." But Wyatt was faster, plucking the box from the mover's hands. "What's in here that's so private?" "Nothing. Give it back." "Now I have to know." He held it above his head, infuriatingly out of reach. The movers wisely disappeared. "Wyatt, I swear, is it something scandalous? Secret diary? Embarrassing photos?" "It's personal." He lowered the box slightly, expression softening. "I'm your husband, Paige. Even if it's fake, we're living together. I'm going to learn your secrets eventually." She could grab it, make a scene. But the movers were still within earshot, and they were supposed to be newlyweds. Newlyweds who didn't fight over boxes. "Fine," Paige bit out. "But you open it alone, and you never mention what's inside." Curiosity and something warmer flickered across his face. "Deal." He disappeared into the master bedroom with her box of shame. Paige counted to 10, then 20, then gave up and followed him. Wyatt sat on the edge of his massive California king bed. Their bed, her traitorous brain supplied. With the box open on his lap, He held up a well-worn paperback with a shirtless man on the cover. "Romance novels," he said, not mocking, just observing. "I told you it was private." Paige crossed her arms defensively. "They're an escape. Don't judge me." "I'm not judging." He picked up another, then another. "You have at least 50 in here." 63. "And yes, I've read them all. Multiple times." Wyatt set the books aside carefully, like they were precious. "What do you love about them?" The question surprised her. She expected teasing, dismissal, not genuine curiosity. "They're safe," Paige admitted. "Predictable in the best way. I know there's going to be conflict and misunderstanding, but also that it'll work out. The couple always ends up together, happy, in love." She looked away. "Real life isn't like that." "No," Wyatt agreed quietly. "It's not." Silence stretched between them. When Paige finally looked back, Wyatt was watching her with an expression she couldn't read. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. Just thinking." He stood, moving to the closet. "Come here. I want to show you something." Paige followed cautiously. The walk-in closet was bigger than her old bedroom. Wyatt's clothes occupied one side. Suits, shirts, everything organized by color and season. The other side was empty. "Your side," he said. "Put whatever you want. However you want. This is your space now. For 6 months." Right, 6 months. But something in his voice suggested he was thinking past that deadline. The movers finished an hour later. Paige's belongings looked bizarre scattered throughout the penthouse. Her colorful throw blankets on his gray couch, her plants on his windowsills, her ridiculous flamingo lamp on the side table. It was a collision of two completely different worlds. "It actually works," Wyatt said, surveying the chaos. "Your stuff makes this place feel less like a museum." "You mean less depressing?" "I was going to say less lonely, but sure." He checked his watch. "We have a dinner tonight." "We what?" "Reservation at Canlis, 8 p.m. I made it this morning." At her blank stare, he elaborated. "Most romantic restaurant in Seattle. Newlyweds would absolutely go there, and will definitely be photographed." "I don't have anything to wear to Canlis." "Yes, you do." Wyatt gestured toward the bedroom. "Delivered while you were talking to Riley. Check the closet." Paige rushed to the closet. On her side, garment bags hung perfectly spaced. She unzipped one. A dress. Midnight blue, designer label, absolutely gorgeous. Then another, emerald green. Another, deep red. "You bought me dresses?" Her voice came out strange. "I bought my wife dresses." Wyatt leaned against the doorframe. "We're going to be attending a lot of events. You needed appropriate wardrobe. This is too much." "It's necessary." "Wyatt." "Paige." He moved into the closet, close enough that she could smell his cologne again. "I'm asking you to pretend to be in love with me, to upend your entire life, to live with me, lie to your friends, play a role every time we step outside." His gray eyes held hers. "The least I can do is buy you some dresses." When he put it like that, it sounded almost sweet. Dangerous thought. "Thank you," Paige managed. "Wear the blue one tonight?" His voice dropped lower. "It'll match your eyes." Her eyes were green, but she didn't correct him. 6 hours later, Paige stood in front of the bathroom mirror trying to recognize herself. The dress fit perfectly, probably because Wyatt had somehow known her exact measurements, which should have been creepy but mostly felt thoughtful. Her auburn hair fell in waves she'd spent an hour perfecting. Makeup that actually looked professional for once. She looked like someone who belonged on a billionaire's arm. "Ready?" Wyatt's voice came through the door. Paige took a breath, opened it. Wyatt stood in the hallway wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her college tuition. His hair was styled, his jaw clean-shaven, and when his eyes landed on her, they went dark with something that made her knees weak. "You're beautiful," he said simply. "It's the dress. It's you." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" The restaurant was everything Paige had heard and more. Perched on a hill overlooking Lake Union, floor-to-ceiling windows, white tablecloths, the kind of quiet elegance that made her want to whisper. Their table was positioned perfectly, visible enough to be seen, private enough for conversation. And there were definitely cameras. Paige spotted at least 3 people trying to discreetly photograph them. "Ignore them," Wyatt murmured, pulling out her chair. "Just focus on me." Easy for him to say. Focusing on Wyatt was becoming increasingly dangerous. The waiter appeared, immaculately dressed, Probably spoke 5 languages, absolutely judging Paige's improper fork usage. Wyatt ordered wine without looking at the menu. Paige tried not to feel intimidated. "Relax," Wyatt said once they were alone. "You're doing great. I don't belong here." "Why not?" "Look around, Wyatt. Everyone here is," she gestured vaguely, "rich, polished. I'm an assistant who drives a beat-up Honda and eats ramen for dinner. You're my wife. That means you belong here more than anyone." He reached across the table, taking her hand. The gesture looked casual, romantic, but his thumb traced circles on her palm that sent electricity up her arm. "Tell me something." "What?" "Anything. Something real. Something not part of this performance." Paige thought for a moment. "I wanted to be a writer, before life got in the way. I used to fill notebooks with stories." "What kind of stories?" "Happy ones, where people fall in love and stay in love, where nothing goes wrong." She smiled sadly. "Turns out real life had different plans." "It's not too late," Wyatt said quietly. "You could still write." "Between being your assistant and fake wife? When exactly?" "You're not my assistant anymore. You're..." He paused. "You're something else now." "What?" "I'm still figuring that out." His eyes held hers, intense and searching. "But I know it's more important than any job." The wine arrived, saving Paige from having to respond. They talked about safer things, favorite movies, worst first dates, childhood embarrassments. Wyatt was surprisingly funny when he let his guard down. He did impressions of pompous board members that made her laugh so hard she snorted wine. "There she is," Wyatt said, smiling. "The real Paige. Not the scared assistant, not the reluctant wife. Just you. You don't know me well enough to say that." "Then let me." He leaned forward. "I want to know everything, Paige. Your favorite color, what you order at coffee shops, why you always park in the farthest spot, what makes you laugh, what keeps you up at night." His voice dropped. "Everything." Paige's heart hammered. This was supposed to be fake, a performance, but the way Wyatt looked at her felt dangerously real. "Your ex-girlfriend is here," Paige said suddenly, spotting a stunning blonde across the restaurant. Wyatt didn't turn around. "Natasha? She's staring at us." "Let her." He squeezed Paige's hand. "I only care about one woman in this room." "That's a line. Doesn't make it less true." Natasha approached, because of course she did. Tall, gorgeous, legs for days, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Paige's car. Her blue eyes were ice cold. "Wyatt," she said, her accent faintly Russian. "Congratulations on your marriage. How unexpected." "Natasha." Wyatt's voice went professional. "This is Paige, my wife." "So I heard." Natasha's smile was sharp. "The assistant. How romantic. Very pretty woman." "Actually, it's nothing like that movie," Paige said sweetly. "I'm not a prostitute and Wyatt didn't hire me. We fell in love." "Crazy, right?" Wyatt's lips twitched, trying not to smile. "Love." Natasha said the word like it was distasteful. "How quaint. I give it 6 months before you're divorced and she's back to fetching your coffee." "Careful," Wyatt said, his voice dropping to that dangerous level that made interns cry. "You're talking about my wife." Something flickered in Natasha's expression. Surprise. Maybe hurt. But she recovered quickly. "Give Richard my regards," she said, turning on her designer heel. "I'm sure you'll be seeing him soon." She left, the threat hanging in the air like poison. "She knows," Paige whispered. "About Hartley. About everything. She's working with him." Wyatt's jaw clenched. "She must be. What do? We finish our dinner. We smile for the cameras. We go home." His eyes met hers, fierce and protective. "And tomorrow, we fight back." They did finish dinner. The food was incredible, though Paige barely tasted it. Wyatt kept up the performance perfectly, touching her hand, smiling at her jokes, looking at her like she was the only person in the world. And maybe part of it was performance, but the way her heart raced suggested something more complicated was happening. The drive home was quiet. Paige stared out the window at Seattle's glittering lights, processing everything. The dinner, Natasha's threat, the way Wyatt had defended her without hesitation. "Thank you," she said finally, "for standing up for me, against your ex. She had no right to speak to you that way." Wyatt's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "No one does." They parked in his building's private garage, rode the elevator in silence. walked into the penthouse, and suddenly they were alone. Actually, alone. No cameras, no performance, no audience. "I should change," Paige said, because someone needed to break the tension. Me too. But neither of them moved. They stood in the living room, the city lights casting shadows through the windows, and Paige realized this was the most dangerous moment yet. Not the cameras, not the reporters, not even the corporate conspiracy. This, being alone with Wyatt Kincaid, starting to feel things that absolutely could not be real. "Paige," Wyatt said quietly. "Yeah? If this were real." He stepped closer. "If we'd actually fallen in love and gotten married, what would you want?" The question hung between them, impossible, dangerous. "Honestly?" Paige met his eyes. "I'd want you to kiss me goodnight." Wyatt's expression went dark. "That's not part of our agreement." "I know. We said we'd keep this professional." "I know. If I kiss you, Paige, it won't be for show, it won't be for cameras." He moved closer, until barely any space remained between them. "It'll be because I've wanted to since the moment I saw you in that white dress this morning, looking at me like I was worth believing in." Paige's breath caught. "Then maybe you should. This is a bad idea. Probably. We'll regret it. Maybe." Wyatt's hand came up, cupping her face. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Last chance to back out." "I'm not backing out." He kissed her, and it was nothing like Paige had imagined. It wasn't soft or gentle or tentative. It was desperate, hungry, like he'd been holding back for months and finally gave in. His other hand slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss. Paige's hands found his shirt, fisting the fabric, pulling him closer. This was real. This was happening. This was... Wyatt pulled back, breathing hard. "That was... yeah," Paige agreed. They stared at each other, both knowing they'd just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. "We should sleep," Wyatt said roughly. "Big day tomorrow." "Right. Yes. Sleep." Neither of them moved. Finally, Wyatt stepped back. "I'll take the couch, you can have the bed." "You don't have to." "I do." He looked at her one more time, something raw and vulnerable in his expression. "Good night, Paige." "Good night." She watched him walk away, disappearing into the master bedroom, heard him gathering blankets, setting up on the couch they'd agreed he'd use. Paige stood alone in the living room, touching her lips, still feeling the imprint of his kiss. This was supposed to be fake, but nothing had ever felt more real. Paige woke up to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the disorienting realization that she was in a bed that cost more than her annual salary. The sheets were Egyptian cotton. The mattress was probably made from clouds and unicorn tears. Everything smelled like expensive laundry detergent and, faintly, like Wyatt. Right, Wyatt, her husband, who'd kissed her last night like the world was ending. She sat up, running her hands through her tangled hair. The bedroom door was open. She could hear sounds from the kitchen, the espresso machine, cabinets opening and closing, someone muttering under their breath. Paige grabbed one of Wyatt's discarded hoodies from a chair, pulling it over her pajamas. It was massive on her, hanging to mid-thigh. She padded barefoot into the kitchen. Wyatt stood at the stove, spatula in hand, attempting to flip what might have been pancakes. His hair stuck up in about 7 directions. He wore gray sweatpants and a faded MIT t-shirt. No shoes. No carefully constructed CEO persona. Just Wyatt. "You cook?" Paige asked. He jumped, nearly launching the pancake across the kitchen. "You're awake, and you're making breakfast." "Attempting to make breakfast." He gestured at the pan. "It's not going well." Paige moved closer, peering at the disaster. The pancake was burned on one side, raw on the other, shaped like a mutant amoeba. "When you said you wanted to cook, I thought you meant ordering from a restaurant." "I can cook." He sounded defensive. "I just haven't in a while." "How long is a while?" 10 years. Maybe 12. He flipped another pancake. It immediately fell apart. "I had a personal chef until last week." "What happened last week?" "I fired him." Wyatt turned off the stove, abandoning the carnage. "He sold photos of my penthouse to a magazine. Can't trust anyone anymore." Something in his voice made Paige's chest ache. "You can trust me." Wyatt looked at her then, really looked at her. His eyes traced over her face, lingering on her mouth. Remembering the kiss, probably. Paige definitely was. "I know," he said quietly. "That's the problem. Before she could ask what he meant, his phone rang. Wyatt grabbed it, his expression hardening as he read the screen. "Marcus," he answered, putting it on speaker. "Tell me you have something good." "Define good." The lawyer's voice crackled through. "I have news. Whether it's good depends on your perspective. Just tell me." "Richard Hartley is hosting a charity gala tonight. Major event. Every tech executive in Seattle will be there, including, presumably, you and your new wife." Wyatt's jaw clenched. "He's calling me out. He's playing chess," Marcus agreed. "If you don't show, it looks like you're hiding. If you do show, you're walking into his territory. Either way, he controls the narrative. Then we show up." Wyatt looked at Paige. "Together. Make it clear we're not afraid of him." "There's more," Marcus continued. "I traced the payment to the photographer. It didn't come directly from Hartley. It came from Natasha Volkov's personal account." Paige's stomach dropped. "His ex-girlfriend?" "Correct. She transferred $50,000 to James Morrison 3 weeks ago, same day the venue was booked." Marcus paused. "She's not just working with Hartley, she's orchestrating this." Wyatt's expression went cold in a way that made Paige take an involuntary step back. This was the CEO who made investors cry. The man who could destroy careers with a word. "Send me everything you have on Natasha," Wyatt said quietly. "Her schedule, her clients, her weaknesses. Everything. Already in your inbox." Marcus cleared his throat. "One more thing. The justice of the peace who married you? Robert Finnegan? He claims he received an anonymous booking request with a substantial payment. Cash. Delivered by courier. No way to trace it. Someone covered their tracks well," Paige said. "Someone who knew exactly what they were doing." Marcus agreed. "I'll keep digging, but be careful tonight. If Natasha and Hartley are working together, that gala could be dangerous." The call ended. Silence filled the kitchen, heavy with implications. "I'm sorry," Wyatt said finally. "This is my fault, my ex-girlfriend, my business rival. You're caught in the middle of my mess. We're married, remember? Your mess is my mess now." Paige attempted a smile. "Even if the marriage is fake." Something flickered across Wyatt's face. "About last night. We don't have to talk about it." "Paige, really? It's fine. It was just a kiss. People kiss. It doesn't have to mean anything." She was babbling. She needed to stop babbling. "We were emotional, stressed, it happened. We can forget about it and focus on taking down your evil ex-girlfriend and her corporate overlord." Wyatt studied her for a long moment. "Is that what you want? To forget it?" "No." "Yes. You're lying again." "I'm protecting myself." The honesty surprised them both. "This isn't real, Wyatt. We have 6 months. Then we divorce and go back to our normal lives. If I let myself feel things..." She looked away. "It's just going to hurt more when it ends." "What if it doesn't have to end?" Paige's head snapped up. "What?" Wyatt moved closer, and her back hit the kitchen counter. Trapped, but not in a scary way, in a way that made her pulse race. "What if this became real?" he asked. "What if we actually tried?" "Tried what? Being married? Being together?" His hand came up, tucking hair behind her ear. That gesture was becoming familiar. "Dangerous. I can't stop thinking about you, Paige. How you look first thing in the morning. How you organize pens by color. How you laugh when you think no one's listening. I've been watching you for 8 months wanting this, and now you're here, in my home, wearing my hoodie, and I don't." Paige pressed her fingers to his lips. "Don't say things you don't mean." He kissed her fingers. "I mean every word. You hired me 8 months ago. You barely spoke to me. Because every time I tried, I forgot how to form sentences." A hint of vulnerability crept into his voice. "You walked into my office for your interview wearing a green dress and carrying a portfolio that was falling apart. You were nervous. You kept apologizing for everything, and I thought you were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen." Paige's heart hammered. "You never said anything. You were my employee, I couldn't." His thumb traced her cheek. "But now you're my wife. Even if it started as an accident. Maybe it was meant to happen. That's crazy. Everything about this is crazy." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. "But I'm starting to think crazy might be exactly what I need." Before Paige could respond, her phone erupted with notifications. She pulled it out, scanning the screen. Messages from Riley, from Harper, from her mom, from people she hadn't talked to in years, all saying the same thing. She held up her phone. We're trending on Twitter. Wyatt checked his phone. Instagram too, and TikTok. He scrolled. Someone made a compilation video of us leaving the building yesterday. It has 3 million views. 3 million people watched us hold hands. 3 million people watched me look at you like you're the only person in the world. He turned the phone toward her. The video showed them walking through the lobby, Wyatt's hand on her waist, his gaze never leaving her face. The caption read, "This is what real love looks like." "They think it's real," Paige whispered. "Maybe they're right." Wyatt set his phone down. "Come with me tonight to the gala, face Hartley and Natasha together. Show them we're not afraid. I don't have anything to wear to a charity gala. You have 7 dresses, pick one. These 7 incredibly expensive dresses you bought me. Because you're worth it." He said it simply, like it was fact. "Everything I have is yours now, Paige. The penthouse, the dresses, the flamingo lamp that I absolutely love." She laughed despite herself. "You're ridiculous." "I'm serious." His expression softened. "I know this started as fake, but I want it to be real. I want you to be real. I want—" His phone rang again. Wyatt swore under his breath, grabbing it. "What?" Paige couldn't hear the other side, but she watched Wyatt's face change. Shock, then anger, then something that looked like fear. "When?" he asked sharply. "How bad?" A pause. "I'm on my way." He hung up, already moving toward the bedroom. "I have to go. Emergency at the office." "What happened?" "Someone leaked our quarterly projections to the press. Bad numbers. Fabricated numbers." He was throwing on clothes, transforming back into the CEO. "If investors believe them, our stock will tank. The board will panic. Hartley will use it to force the merger." "Can I help?" Wyatt paused, one arm in his suit jacket. "You want to help? I'm your wife, remember? Even if it's fake. Your problems are my problems." Something in his expression cracked. "It's not fake anymore, Paige. Not for me." He kissed her, quick, desperate, like he needed the reassurance. Then he was gone, door closing, elevator descending, leaving Paige alone in the penthouse with her thundering heart and the growing realization that she was in way over her head. She loved him. Somewhere between the fake marriage and the real kiss and the pancake disaster, she'd fallen in love with Wyatt Kincaid, her boss, her husband, the man who'd spent 8 months watching her, wanting her, waiting for a chance. And tonight, she'd have to face his ex-girlfriend who'd orchestrated their marriage, at a gala, in front of Seattle's elite, while pretending everything was fine, perfect. 8 hours later, Paige stood in front of the bedroom mirror trying not to hyperventilate. The red dress hugged every curve. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, diamond earrings that Wyatt had casually left on the dresser with a note. "Wear these. They were my grandmother's." His grandmother's diamonds. Like this was real. Like they were actually building a life together. The penthouse door opened. "Paige, we need to leave in 10. Wyatt stopped mid-sentence, stared. His jaw literally dropped. "Is it too much?" Paige turned, suddenly self-conscious. "I can change." "Don't." He moved closer, his eyes dark with something that made her knees weak. "Don't change anything. You're perfect. The earrings were meant for you." He touched one gently. "My grandmother would have loved you. She had the same fire. I'm terrified. So am I." He took her hands. "But we're doing this together. Whatever happens tonight, we face it as a team. Team fake marriage, team real marriage." He squeezed her hands. "I meant what I said this morning, Paige. This is real for me. You're real for me." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. Wyatt checked it, his expression hardening. "The car's here. Are you ready?" "No." "Yes." They rode the elevator in silence. The town car waited outside, driver holding the door. Cameras flashed as they emerged. Paige slid into the car, Wyatt following. The door closed, shutting out the chaos. "Marcus sent me the guest list," Wyatt said, pulling out his tablet. "Hartley will be there, Natasha, every board member, half the tech industry." He looked up. "They're all going to be watching us. Then let's give them something to watch." The gala was held at the Seattle Art Museum. Red carpet. Actual photographers with professional cameras. People in tuxedos and gowns worth more than Paige's college education. She wanted to turn around and run. Wyatt took her hand. "Breathe. I can't do this." "You already are." He helped her out of the car. Flashbulbs exploded. Questions shouted from every direction. "Mr. Kincaid, how does it feel to be married?" "Paige, are you pregnant?" "Is it true you're expecting twins?" Wyatt's arm slid around her waist, protective and possessive. "We're very happy," he said smoothly. "And no, we're not expecting. Yet. Like this was forever. Like they were planning a future. They walked the red carpet, posed for photos. Wyatt's hand never left her waist. Every time someone shouted a question, he deflected with charm and precision. He was in his element. This was his world. And Paige was drowning. Inside, the museum was transformed. Ice sculptures, champagne fountains, a string quartet playing something classical. Everyone was beautiful, wealthy, confident. Paige recognized faces from magazines, CEOs, celebrities, people who actually belonged here. Champagne? A waiter appeared with a tray. Paige grabbed one gratefully, then another. "Slow down," Wyatt murmured. "We need to stay sharp. I need to not panic. You're doing amazing." He kissed her temple. "Everyone's staring because you're the most beautiful woman here. They're staring because I'm the assistant who accidentally married the billionaire. They're staring because I can't stop looking at you." His gray eyes held hers. "And I don't care who knows it. Wyatt Kincaid." A voice cut through the noise, smooth, confident, threatening. Paige turned. Richard Hartley stood behind them. 50-something, silver hair, expensive suit, smile that didn't reach his eyes. He looked exactly like what he was, a predator. "Richard," Wyatt's voice went cold. "What a surprise seeing you at your own gala." "I'm full of surprises." Hartley's gaze slid to Paige. "And this must be the new Mrs. Kincaid. Congratulations on your unexpected nuptials." "Thank you." Paige forced a smile. It was very romantic. I'm sure it was. Something predatory flickered in Hartley's expression. "Though I have to wonder, how much of it do you actually remember?" The words hit like a slap. He knew. He absolutely knew about their memory loss. "Every moment," Wyatt said smoothly, pulling Paige closer. "Best night of my life." "Interesting." Hartley sipped his champagne. "Because according to my sources, neither of you can recall anything after midnight that evening. Almost like you were—" He paused deliberately. "Drugged." Paige's blood ran cold. "That's a serious accusation," Wyatt said quietly, dangerously. "Is it?" Hartley smiled. "Or is it just the truth? You wake up married with no memory of how it happened. Photos appear online. Your stock price fluctuates. The board starts questioning your judgment." He leaned closer. "Sounds like someone orchestrated the perfect corporate takedown. You're admitting to it?" "I'm admitting to nothing." Hartley straightened. "But I am offering you a solution. Sell me controlling interest in Kincaid Technologies. Walk away with your billions. Keep your little wife." His gaze slid over Paige dismissively. "Everyone wins. Except I lose my company. Better than losing everything." Hartley's smile sharpened. "Because that leak this morning? The fabricated numbers, that's just the beginning. I have emails, documents, evidence of financial irregularities that could destroy you. Unless, of course, you're reasonable. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you an exit strategy." Hartley set down his champagne. "You have until the board meeting next month to decide. Sell, or watch everything you've built crumble." He walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Paige realized she was shaking. "He drugged us. He orchestrated everything, and now he's blackmailing you." "He won't win." Wyatt's voice was steel. "I didn't build this company to hand it over to a man like him. But if he has evidence, then we find evidence of our own." Wyatt looked around the gala. "Natasha is here somewhere. She's the key. If we can prove she worked with Hartley to orchestrate our marriage, we can expose them both." "How do we do that?" "We split up. You find Natasha. Keep her talking. I'll work the room, see what I can learn from other board members." His eyes met hers. "Can you do this?" Paige thought about her student loans, her mom's medical bills, her simple life that had been turned upside down. Then she thought about Wyatt's grandmother's diamonds in her ears, the way he looked at her like she was worth fighting for. "I can do this," she said. Wyatt kissed her, right there, in front of everyone, deep, possessive, claiming. When he pulled back, his eyes were fierce. "That's my girl," he said. "Now let's take them down." Paige found Natasha on the museum's balcony, champagne in hand, staring out at the Seattle skyline like she owned it. The blonde turned as Paige approached. her ice blue eyes narrowing. "The little assistant," Natasha said. "Come to play with the adults?" "Come to talk." Paige forced herself to sound confident. "Woman to woman. We have nothing to discuss. Don't we?" Paige leaned against the railing, mimicking Natasha's casual pose. "You orchestrated my marriage, drugged me and Wyatt, hired photographers, created this entire mess. I think we have plenty to discuss." Natasha's expression flickered. Surprise, quickly masked. "That's quite an accusation." "It's the truth." Marcus Chen traced the payment to the photographer. $50,000 from your personal account. Paige watched Natasha's face carefully. "You worked with Hartley, planned everything, but I need to know why." "Why?" Natasha laughed, bitter and sharp. "You really want to know?" "Yes, because I loved him." The words came out raw. "I loved Wyatt Kincaid for 3 years. 3 years of waiting for him to notice me, to choose me, to love me back. But he never did." Her gaze turned venomous. "Then you walked into his office, some nobody assistant with your cheap clothes and your nervous smile, and suddenly he couldn't stop talking about you." Paige's heart stuttered. "He talked about me?" "Constantly." Paige organized the filing system. "Paige sent the perfect email. Paige made me laugh today." Natasha's knuckles whitened around her champagne flute. "I tried everything, dressed better, worked harder, made myself indispensable, but he still looked at you like you were the only woman in the world. So you decided to destroy him?" "I decided to make him suffer." Natasha's smile turned cruel. "Hartley approached me 6 months ago, said he wanted to take over Kincaid Technologies, needed leverage. I suggested the marriage scheme, force Wyatt into a scandal, ruin his reputation, watch him lose everything." She tilted her head. "But I underestimated one thing." "What?" "That he'd actually fall for you." Natasha's laugh was hollow. "The universe's little joke. I drug you both, force you to marry, and instead of destroying him, I gave him exactly what he wanted. You." Paige's phone was recording in her pocket. Every word, every confession. She just needed a little more. "Hartley paid you," Paige said. "How much?" $2 million, plus a partnership position in his firm." Natasha finished her champagne. "Worth every penny to watch Wyatt suffer. Except he's not suffering. We're happy." "Are you?" Natasha stepped closer, predatory. "Or are you just playing house with a man who'll discard you the moment this arrangement becomes inconvenient? Wyatt Kincaid doesn't love, sweetheart. He consumes, uses, moves on. I learned that the hard way. You're wrong about him." "Am I? Then why hasn't he introduced you to his family? Why hasn't he posted about you on his personal social media? Why does he keep you hidden away like a shameful secret?" Natasha's smile sharpened. "Because you're not real to him. You're just another business transaction." The words hit harder than they should have, because part of Paige wondered if they were true. "Time's up, ladies." Wyatt's voice cut through the tension. He stood in the balcony doorway, expression unreadable. "Paige, we need to go. We were just talking." Natasha purred. "About old times." "I'm sure you were." Wyatt's gaze never left Paige. "Did you get what you needed?" Paige touched her pocket. "The recording." "Yes." "Good." He extended his hand. "Then let's finish this." Paige took his hand, letting him lead her back inside. Behind them, Natasha called out, "Enjoy it while it lasts, Paige. He'll break your heart eventually. They always do." Inside, the gala continued. Music, laughter, champagne flowing. Wyatt guided Paige through the crowd with purpose, heading toward a raised platform where Hartley stood talking to board members. "What are we doing?" Paige whispered. "Ending this." Wyatt's jaw was set. "Trust me, always." He squeezed her hand once, then stepped onto the platform, grabbed a microphone from a nearby stand, tapped it twice. The music stopped. Conversations died. Every eye turned toward them. "Good evening," Wyatt said, his voice carrying through the museum. "I apologize for the interruption, but there's something I need to address." Hartley's face went pale. "Wyatt, this isn't the time." "It's exactly the time." Wyatt pulled Paige onto the platform beside him. "You all know about my recent marriage. The photos, the speculation, the rumors of scandal." He looked directly at Hartley. "What you don't know is that my marriage was orchestrated, arranged by people who wanted to destroy my company and my reputation." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones appeared, recording. This was about to go viral. "That's absurd," Hartley said, but his voice wavered. Is it? Wyatt nodded to someone in the crowd. Marcus Chen appeared, tablet in hand, connecting it to the museum's projection system. Because I have evidence that says otherwise. Images appeared on the wall behind them. Bank transfers, emails, photos of Hartley meeting with Natasha, the photographer's payment trail, everything laid out in damning clarity. Richard Hartley and Natasha Volkov conspired to drug me and my wife. Wyatt continued, his voice cold. They arranged a fake marriage, hired vendors, created false memories, all to manipulate me into selling my company. He looked around the room, and when that didn't work, they leaked fabricated financial reports, attempted blackmail, tried to destroy everything I built. This is slander, Hartley shouted. I'll sue. With what evidence? Wyatt gestured to the projections. Because I have documentation of every crime you committed, bank records, witness statements, and, he looked at Paige, a full confession, recorded 20 minutes ago. Paige pulled out her phone, connecting it to the system. Natasha's voice filled the museum. I decided to make him suffer. Hartley approached me 6 months ago. I suggested the marriage scheme, $2 million, plus a partnership position. The confession played in full. Every word, every admission. By the end, Hartley looked ready to collapse. Security, Wyatt said calmly. Please escort Mr. Hartley and Ms. Volkov from the premises. The police are already on their way. Security guards materialized. Hartley tried to protest, but they were already leading him away. Natasha appeared from the balcony, saw what was happening, and ran. She didn't make it far. The crowd erupted. Questions, accusations, phones recording everything. Wyatt ignored them all, turning to Paige. Are you okay? He asked quietly. I just helped take down a corporate conspiracy at a charity gala, Paige said. I'm amazing. He laughed. Actually laughed. Yes, you are. Then he kissed her. Right there, on the platform, in front of everyone. And this time it wasn't for show. It wasn't for cameras. It was real. The crowd cheered. 2 hours later, they were back in the penthouse. Paige kicked off her heels the moment they walked through the door. I can't believe that just happened. You were incredible. Wyatt loosened his tie, grinning. The way you got Natasha to confess everything? Brilliant. I was terrified. You were perfect. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. We make a good team. The best team. Paige wrapped her arms around his neck. So what happens now? Hartley and Natasha go to jail. Eventually. Marcus is handling the legal proceedings. They'll face charges for drugging us, fraud, attempted corporate espionage. Wyatt's expression darkened. They'll pay for what they did. And us? Paige asked quietly. What happens to us? Wyatt pulled back slightly, studying her face. What do you want to happen? Paige took a breath. I want this to be real. Not because we were drugged or forced or manipulated, but because we choose it. I've been choosing you since the moment you walked into my office 8 months ago, Wyatt said. Every day, every moment, even when I couldn't say it. His thumb traced her cheek. I love you, Paige. Not my assistant, not my accidental wife. You. The woman who organizes pens by color and reads romance novels and makes terrible jokes when she's nervous. I love all of it. Tears stung Paige's eyes. I love you too. Even though you're controlling and terrible at cooking and slightly terrifying in business meetings. Slightly? Moderately. He kissed her again. Soft, sweet, perfect. When they pulled apart, Paige realized something. We never actually chose to get married, she said. Hartley and Natasha did that for us. True. Wyatt's eyes gleamed with something mischievous. So let's do it again. Properly this time. What? He dropped to one knee. Right there. In his penthouse, still wearing his tuxedo. Pulled a small box from his pocket. Paige Brennan, will you marry me? For real this time. Because I love you. Because you make me laugh. Because I want to spend the rest of my life burning pancakes and organizing pens and watching you read romance novels where everyone gets their happy ending. Paige stared at the ring. Simple. Elegant. Perfect. We're already married. Legally, not emotionally. He smiled. Say yes and we'll do it right. Big wedding, your choice of venue, your family there, Riley as your maid of honor, everything you deserve. Or, Paige said slowly, we keep this marriage, the one that started as chaos, because it's ours. It's our story. Wyatt stood, confused. You don't want a real wedding? I want this wedding. Paige gestured around them. The one where we had no choice but somehow found each other anyway. The universe's little joke that turned into something real. She took the ring from the box, sliding it onto her finger beside the invisible band that had never been there. I don't need a redo, Wyatt. I just need you. You have me. He pulled her close. Always. They stood in the penthouse, the city lights twinkling beyond the windows, and Paige realized something. This was her happy ending. Not perfect, not planned, not anything like her romance novels, but real. And that made it better than any fiction. So what now? Wyatt asked. We just stay married? We stay married. We work at the company together. We drive each other crazy. Paige grinned. And maybe eventually we have some kids who inherit your CEO glare and my organizational skills. Terrifying combination. The best combination. Wyatt's phone buzzed. He ignored it. That's probably Marcus or my mother, or the 17 reporters who want a statement. Ignore them all. With pleasure. He swept her into his arms, carrying her toward the bedroom. I have better things to do than deal with the press. Like what? Like properly consummating this marriage. His grin turned wicked. We have lost time to make up for. Paige laughed, wrapping her arms around his neck. You know we technically already consummated it. During the wedding night we can't remember. Doesn't count if I can't remember it. Wyatt kicked the bedroom door closed behind them. Tonight, I'm making memories that'll last forever. And he did. 3 months later, Paige stood in Wyatt's, their office, reviewing the quarterly projections. Real projections this time. Impressive numbers. The company had bounced back stronger than ever after the scandal broke. Hartley and Natasha were awaiting trial. Kincaid Technologies was thriving. Mrs. Kincaid? Harper's voice came through the intercom. Your 3 o'clock is here. Send them in, Paige said, still getting used to her new title. Director of Communications. Wyatt had insisted on the promotion. Said she'd earned it. Riley burst through the door, followed by Paige's mother. Surprise! What are you doing here? Paige hugged them both. I thought you were in Portland. We came to see you, obviously. Riley grinned. And to verify that you're actually still married and this wasn't some elaborate fever dream. Still married. Paige held up her left hand, showing the ring Wyatt had given her. Plus the original band that had mysteriously appeared on her finger one morning. Wyatt claimed he'd bought it retroactively, made it official. And happy? Her mother asked, studying her face carefully. Insanely happy. Paige smiled. I know it's weird. Trust me, I know, but Wyatt is... He's everything. He better be, Riley said, or I'll destroy him. I don't care how many billions he has. I appreciate that. The door opened again. Wyatt walked in carrying 2 coffee cups. He stopped when he saw the visitors, a slow smile spreading across his face. Riley, Mrs. Brennan. He handed Paige her coffee. Black, 2 sugars, exactly how she liked it. This is a nice surprise. We're inspecting the goods, Riley said bluntly, making sure you're treating our girl right. I am. Wyatt's arm slid around Paige's waist. Every single day. He burned pancakes for me this morning, Paige added. Very romantic. They were supposed to be waffles, Wyatt protested. Even worse, her mother laughed. You two are good together, I can see it. We are, Paige agreed, leaning into Wyatt's side. Even if we got here in the weirdest way possible. The best love stories usually are weird, her mother said wisely. Your father proposed to me at a grocery store, in the frozen food aisle, while I was holding a bag of peas. That's actually kind of adorable, Riley said. It was mortifying, but also perfect. She smiled at Paige. Sometimes the universe knows what we need before we do. They talked for another hour. Riley extracted promises for girls' nights and updates. Paige's mother cried happy tears and hugged Wyatt like he was already family. By the time they left, Paige felt lighter, complete. Your family is wonderful, Wyatt said, closing the office door. They like you. That's shocking, considering. Considering I accidentally married you and dragged you into a corporate conspiracy? Yeah, that. Paige grinned. But you make up for it with your terrible cooking and excessive purchasing of designer dresses. Speaking of, Wyatt pulled an envelope from his desk. I got us something. More dresses? Better. He handed her the envelope. Open it. Inside were 2 plane tickets. Greece, Santorini, the honeymoon they'd supposedly planned but never taken. 2 weeks, Wyatt said. Just us. No work, no press, no conspiracies, just you and me and the Mediterranean. Paige's eyes filled with tears. This is perfect. You're perfect. He pulled her close. And I plan to spend the next 50 years proving it. 50 years. At least, maybe 60 if you keep reading those romance novels and giving me ideas. She laughed, kissing him. Deal. Outside the office windows, Seattle sparkled in the afternoon sun. Somewhere in the city, Hartley and Natasha sat in jail cells, paying for their crimes. Somewhere Riley was probably texting everyone about Paige's happiness. Somewhere, the universe was probably laughing at how perfectly the chaos had worked out. But in that office, Paige and Wyatt stood wrapped in each other's arms. Proof that sometimes the worst situations lead to the best outcomes. That love could bloom from conspiracy. That happy endings existed outside of books. And that marriage notifications, even mysterious ones appearing after car accidents, could lead to forever. I love you, Paige whispered. I love you too, Wyatt replied. My beautiful, brilliant, accidentally perfect wife. Husband. Always. And they were. The end epilogue. 1 year later, the renovation of Paige and Wyatt's penthouse was finally complete. The minimalist gray aesthetic remained, but now it was punctuated with color. Paige's throw pillows, her plants, her books. The flamingo lamp held pride of place in the living room. Photos covered the walls. Their real wedding 6 months ago, surrounded by family and friends. Vacation pictures from Santorini, Riley's birthday party, Paige's mother's remission celebration. A life. Together. Real. Paige stood in the nursery, painting the walls a soft yellow. Gender neutral. They wanted to be surprised. You're supposed to be resting, Wyatt said from the doorway. I'm painting. Very restful. The doctor said I'm healthy and the baby is fine and I should continue normal activities. Paige set down the brush, turning to face him. Stop hovering. I'm not hovering, I'm expressing concern. You're hovering. But she smiled, walking into his arms. Her belly bumped against him. 6 months pregnant and showing. We're fine. Both of us. Wyatt's hand settled on her stomach. The baby kicked right against his palm. His expression softened into wonder. Still can't believe this is real, he murmured. Which part, the baby or the marriage? All of it. He kissed her forehead. 2 years ago, you were my assistant. I barely spoke to you. I wanted to, but I couldn't figure out how. And now? Now you're my wife, the mother of my child, my partner in everything. He pulled back to look at her. And it started with a car accident and a mysterious notification. Best accident of my life. Mine too. They stood in the nursery, surrounded by baby furniture and paint cans, and the promise of their future. Outside, Seattle went about its business. Kincaid Technologies thrived under their joint leadership. Hartley and Natasha served their sentences. Life moved forward. But in that moment, none of it mattered except this. Them. The family they were building. The love that had grown from the most impossible circumstances. What do you think it'll be? Wyatt asked. Boy or girl? Does it matter? Not even a little, he grinned. As long as they don't inherit my cooking skills, or your tendency to work 18-hour days, or your obsession with organizing office supplies. That's a valuable life skill. They laughed, and the baby kicked again like they were already part of the joke. I love you, Wyatt said. Both of you. We love you too, Paige replied. Even when you hover. I don't hover. You absolutely hover. Fine. I hover. But only because you're precious cargo. We're not cargo, we're your family. My family, Wyatt repeated, like he was testing the words, then smiled. Yeah, that's perfect. And it was. Because sometimes the universe has a plan. Sometimes chaos leads to clarity. Sometimes a mysterious marriage notification after a car accident leads to the greatest love story you never planned. And sometimes, that's exactly what you needed all along. The end. Have you ever stopped to think that the best love stories begin with, I don't remember how it happened, and end with, I can't imagine my life without you?